Hello everybody, what's going on? This is Japhet from the Art of Trading, back at it with another episode of the Daily Top 10 where we analyze the trending stocks objectively and see where price action takes us. So before we get on to that, let me remind you about my socials down below. You can follow me there on Facebook, Instagram. I'm on it. And before we move on to our trending stocks, let's look at our index first for today and see what happened. So we have here PSEI, our index. We went up about 6 points for today, or 0.10%, with a negative 298 million net foreign. So price action wise on our candlestick, we do see a rejection on the 6600 mark, 6600 point mark, and it's playing within our support range right here. So it's within this. The candle is basically inside the range that we drew, so it's basically in that 65 to 6600 mark, but we closed at 6559.084, our index. So for our first trending stock, we have Dito, which closed at 10.18 or positive 3% for today, with a positive net foreign as well, 10.52 million. So it is within this range. It's moving sideways right now within this range from our 8 peso or 9 peso level right here. 9 peso level, bounced there and closed at 10.18. So that's a good movement, but overall it is still playing within this given range right here. So our resistance at 11.35 or 11.38 is still intact, and we should be seeing it retest this this downtrend hopefully in the future or coming soon. So I'm pretty sure it will test this resistance once again soon. You could be playing that. That's a 1 peso movement right there, but it could also just, play down and retouch the 9 peso level as it wants to go sideways. So it's consolidating, moving sideways, and you gotta be careful because you can be whipped out quite easily on this one if you don't necessarily catch it from, let's say, the bottom right here. So this support zone is an interesting place to accumulate, and if you do accumulate from there, just have your cut loss points right below in case it doesn't go accordingly. But for me, I'm waiting this out, just watching, seeing what happens as it moves along on the sideways movement. So that's it for Dito for me, and let's move to our next stock with PHA, closing in at 2.2 or positive 4.76% today, and it's still holding that resistance. Got rejected on the upside in this range, the 2.2 range. So it got rejected right there, literally closed on the dot, 2.2. So we are seeing still a rejection of this support before, turned resistance now, and we could potentially be seeing a movement on the downside depending what happens. But for now, the resistance, it's trying to break above as it creates this sort of like a short-term higher lows on this one. But definitely, if you ask me, there's this indecision going on right here, and this could honestly break above or break down, either way. So this could break down, or it could potentially break above and settle. So I don't know yet what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna be watching this on the sideline, from the sideline, to see what it does, because this indecision, the symmetrical triangle on a push on the downside, it's still kind of like a trend continuation kind of thing, pattern, I mean. So be careful, as it has a higher chance of breaking down from this trend line. So be careful there. A rejection definitely on the upside. So I say be patient. Watch out for these zones that we've specified at 1.79 or 1.8 and watching out for these resistances at 2.2 pesos. So up next we have ACEN closing in at 6.92 or 2.22% with a positive net foreign for today. And as the others, like the other stocks, this is also playing within this range, but this one is pretty close as well to, you know, breaking this symmetrical triangle that we have going on right in this area. So it's still undecided whether it wants to break above or break on the downside. We do not know yet, as it is still on that indecision phase where not a lot of where the bulls and the bears are still deciding whether it wants to push on the downside or push on the upside. But if it does push on the upside, I'm watching out for a pullback on these levels. And if it does break on the downside, I'm watching this 6.39 to 6.55 to hold up. And if it doesn't, we could be potentially looking at the 6.2 or 6 peso level for it to touch or retrace. So these are the two potential, you know, movements for it. So yeah, interestingly, it could break above or it could break down, and it's right on that point right now for ACEN. So up next we have which closed positively as well. Most of the stock today are on green for the highest traded stocks. They're mostly on green for today, but we see close. Wow, closed right below our support zone supposedly, and now it's a resistance for us. The 4.7 is now a resistance as we close at 4.65 or 2.42% up. So it did drop down a little bit to 4.5 for today at the low when it opened, but close at 4.65. But that means that this is a candle that finally closed right below the support zone. So now it's confirmed that it is going to be a resistance zone for it. So be careful with this one, as we don't know where this wants to take us as it moves on the downside continuously. There's definitely a lot of prices that it hasn't, you know, tested, the zones that hasn't tested. So we could be looking at this potentially right here. Let me put it back. Why isn't it letting me put it there? There we go. So we could be looking at the 3.8 level. Wow. So we do not know yet, but if I was to put as much wicks as I could, maybe right there. So that was before the explosion. 3.65. Wow. If it does keep piercing below our support levels, we could be looking to find ourselves 1 peso down from 4.65 to 3.65 if this doesn't slowly build a level of support. So yes, the bias is still on the downside, and yeah, this is the story for right now. It's just tough as it broke down massively on the downside, and we do see our resistances now, you know, piling on top of each other. So sad news for but let's move to our next one with APL, which did not move too much, close at 0.53% up for today, and it's just within this range. The 0.17 level held, and it's just on this range right now that it's traversing. So it's going sideways at best, and our resistance at 1950 is holding up. So not favorable to trade this right now, unless you probably buy on these support zones right here at 17, and then just trade the resistances at 19. That could be a play that you could do, but yeah, I gotta be careful and watch it closely. So yeah, that's it for APL for now, as it breaks down below this support level and retouching, planning to retouch, I believe, this zone right here at 0.17. So we don't know yet what it's going to do, but the bias is still on the bear side right now. So we shall see what it wants to do. But for now, let us look at our next stock in BHI. Actually, BHI moved well today, so it did pierce it above or close to right around the same price point right here at 93.093. So it closed right there. So now it could be confirmed that this is a resistance that we're looking at. Touched once, twice, 3 times now, and it does seem to want to break above. So we should be watching this for a pullback. Yeah, but good move for BHI right now as it continues to move on that uptrend right here, and this support level sort of like holding up. So we shall see if it does break above right now or get rejected, because it has a chance to get rejected right here and retrace back to our support level. But for now, we could see option A, which is breaking above and building a support level right here, or option B, getting rejected and pushing down to a level right here, probably in the middle, to build some level of support, because people will find value there. So be careful with BHI. Wait for it to potentially settle above here, or potentially build a level of support right around this area, if not this area right here at our previous support at 0.073. So we shall see what it does over the next few days, but good move for today, closing in at 0.093 and positive 9.41% for BHI. I think this is the only, one of the few stocks that moved massively for today. Good move, BHI. And let's move to our next one with CLI. Which one's this? Cebu Landmasters. Wow, so it has been a while, and I believe our charting before kind of held up. So it did want to retest these levels, and it broke below, huh? So it did break below this red line, which was the resistance before it exploded above, and then it just pulled back massively, but then it broke that downtrend by going sideways. So let's look at what happened right here. Let me clear these drawings for now, but of course, let's start with our resistance zone right here at 5.7, 5.8. This could still be, yeah, hold up, let me just remove that. Let's label this as our resistance. If we include the wicks right here right now, I think there are more wicks that are going to be involved if I put it there. So that's going to be a harder resistance zone that it has to break at 5.6. So it did almost touch that today, but yes, this has now a support on this level right here, as we can see it bounce above right here pretty big. So I could put that as a support level, as it was tested more than once. So once, twice, now is the third try that it did try to hold this as support. So that is some good signs. So definitely now this is a range that we are watching at about 5.1 to 5.25. So let's see, let's mark that up to 5.25. So this could be an area of interest in the future. If it does pull back, it could still get rejected right here. It could still get rejected right on this area around 5.60. So it could still get rejected right here and maybe pull back, but that is one of the options. This is definitely still ranging, as we can see, since the beginning of March. So it was just ranging right here. Sorry for the bad drawing. But yeah, it was just ranging in this zone. So I'm watching this support level to hold. It did hold. There was a bounce right there, and there was an end of a downtrend right here with a great powerful move on this one. So I could be watching for a pullback on this right around this area right here. So we could be watching the 5.4 levels. Let's see. This was a resistance before. You could see, yeah, if I'm gonna be playing this after this massive move on the upside, I'm watching these levels at maybe 5.4 for it to build a level of support before it could continue moving on the upside. So we shall see what happens, but definitely great move from this level of support. It held up as it was tested once, twice, and 3 times right here. But yeah, if all things goes well, this is the best move. The best move for CLI. But yeah, so there was a massive move today with a 6.18%. That's pretty good, closing in at 5.5 pesos. So let's move on to our next one with LRW, Leisure and Resorts World. So this level of support broke back into it, huh? Interesting move. So it did break above. We are still in this big range that is happening right here. So this is still the range. Resistance at 2.64, support at 2 pesos. So it broke back into that, so that's a good sign. And if it does stay around that price point and potentially breaking the 2.19 level, we could be moving up pretty well for LRW. So I don't know yet what it's gonna do, but it's maintaining that support level. So if this is something interesting for you, if this is set up for you, oh, ascending triangle right here, huh? So if this is a setup for you, you know, do it. Feel free to come into this and potentially trade this above to about 2.64 levels. So that's an interesting move. Definitely a good watch. So I'll put that on my alerts. I'm gonna put that on my alerts because it did move well today at 13.81, closing in at 2.06 today. So this is a good move. Wow. We have a confluence of the support zone right here plus a trend line, higher lows. That's good. That's a good move. So yeah, hopefully it does maintain that upward movement for LRW. And lastly, we have BSC, I think. Yeah, BSC. Let me just save that for a bit. BSC is trying to find support right here. So it did stop the massive bleeding, and now it's trying to form a level of support at around 0.78 to 0.82. So 0.78 to 0.82. That's a good zone. A good zone for it to potentially build a level of support and move sideways. But our resistance at 1.0 is still intact, and this downtrend is still intact. Downtrend line is still intact, I mean. So gotta be careful for this with this one, because anytime it could potentially just break this, as the pushing or the bias is still on the sellers. So the bears are still in control, and this could get rejected right here and just go down and retest the 0.7 levels. So gotta be careful with this one. Definitely still deciding what it wants to do, as it didn't move too much today, closing in at 0.84 or 3.7%. So it didn't move too much today, That's almost like a doji candle. But yeah, it's a good level for it to hold, but you know, this downward movement right here could still pierce below, right below the support level. I think this happened with, I believe it was it PHA? Was it PHA? I think it was, no, not PHA, Dito? Or was it ACEN? Nope, not ACEN or MM. Yeah, MM, right there. We saw with MM that it pierced and closed below the support level. We thought it was going to build the support level right there, but with BSC, you know, it could still open below here or pierce below if it doesn't move huge on the upside. So be careful out there with this one, and maybe rethink it if you want to get into this stock right here. So we shall see, because there's still a big gap. There's still a big gap right here that it wants to maybe touch in the future, but let's see what it does. So this resistance still intact, support is holding up right now, and if it doesn't move on the upside, we shall see what it wants to do. But yeah, just to recap, let's go back to PSEI for today. We see a 6-point increase, but it just literally played or moved within this support zone that we have drawn since, yeah, I think yesterday we put this up. But yeah, it's within our support zone right here right now, and the bias is still on the bears. So the bears are still in control. We have come from 7,200 to now just 6,500 points, and it's still continuing this downtrend with our support zone being pierced multiple times now. So this just moved massively, breaking this area of potential support. So it does want to touch this resistance, and it is currently touching it there. Man, that's a very, very deep dive, especially with everything that's going on right now, with the curfew, with the news, rising COVID cases. This could potentially just continue breaking below up to this level right here. We're looking at 6,100. Wow, that's pretty deep. That's definitely a zone that was untested right here at 6,200 points. Wow, that's a very, very deep dive. So stay liquid if you can, and yeah, be vigilant, be careful out there. So yeah, that's it for me for today. And I'm coming on here just to remind you to, you know, stay patient on the trades that you are looking at for this week or for today, for this month. It's gonna be a month where things are just going down. So yeah, stay patient, be disciplined, and strive to be consistent as always. This is Japhet from the Arc of Trading, and I'll see you guys on the next video tomorrow, Wednesday episode. So yeah, have a great evening, everybody. Green market today, but this could just be a bounce for our whole market, for the market as a whole, I mean. So yeah, be careful out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.